Florida's on fire. I think a lot of the markets there, it's a little bit harder. It's a little bit more competitive to find a deal. But I think if you find a deal that pencils and it's cash flowing from day one, I think there's nothing but upside. Started with like 50 to 100 contacts that I had kind of in my inner circle, just demonstrating knowledge, experience. And really what I was focusing on was real time, real life, the deal that we were working on. I kind of found the way that was helpful for me was to kind of lay out the projected returns, the cash flow examples, example of return and the exit after 5 years, and then kind of backing into how the business plan supports those returns.
Inflation increases everything, including rents. Now, you buy a property now, your debt stays the same, but inflation is going to bring your rents up. It's a fact of life. Welcome back to Multifamily Rockstars. So as you guys know, this is where we deep dive into deals that our guests bring. Typically, they're always warriors in this case on these episodes. And we give you practical and actionable items to get started and do your first deal, especially if you're brand new to multifamily. And I've got my co-host Mark Nagy here with me. Hey, bud.
What's going on, Rod? Good to be here for another one.
Yep. I was just telling you guys I was late to record this because I was getting this NAD plus IV that's supposed to be awesome biohack thing. I've been doing a lot of biohack stuff, methylene blue and crazy stuff like that, peptides, and when you get old, you gotta bring in anything you can. So that's what I'm doing. But anyway, we've got Jimmy Diorio on today. He's a 28-year-old real estate broker, commercial real estate broker in New York, and has done that. We'll find out how long here in a minute, but we're going to dig into the deal that he's done so far as a warrior. Welcome, brother. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Good to see you guys.
Absolutely. So why don't you take a bit and just let's start with having you tell a little bit of your story. Why real estate? If you came from some other business prior to that, maybe mention that and just maybe bring us current.
Yeah. So born and raised in upstate New York, Saratoga Springs, small little horse racing town up there. Went to school at University of Rochester in Western New York. And my whole childhood, everything growing up was all about football. So I played football growing up, played football in college at the University of Rochester. And I was able to get connected to a alumni who was there probably about 12 years before I was. And he saw my resume, he saw athlete, same college, and he interviewed me and I ended up taking the job as a commercial real estate broker in New York City, and that was in 2019.
Okay. So you were 22, 23, something like that, huh?
I was 22.
Yeah.
And as we all know, a few months later, the whole world got shaken up. And I was doing primarily office leasing, commercial office leasing throughout New York City. Landlord representation, tenant representation, and COVID hit, and it was kind of like, okay, pencils down, like everyone go home and
pencils down and office is empty. I mean, I think the occupancy rate hit like 50% or some crazy freaking number there.
It was, right? Yeah, it was. No one knew what was going on, but I went home actually for like 6 months. The city shut down. I thought I was gonna be home for a few weeks, but that was 6 months into my career, and I just got my first deal done. I was just starting to get rolling, so that was a big kind of shock, to get started with in the commercial real estate.
Ouch.
Absolutely. Nah, no question. So let me ask you this before we get rolling. What type of listeners do you think would be able to relate to you and your personality, your experience or really your skill sets? What type of listener do you think would most connect with you?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I'm 28, as you mentioned, younger, sales focused, I think kind of people. The commercial real estate world, and especially on a commission basis, really teaches you a lot, especially as like a young kid, 22, coming out of school. There's no guaranteed paycheck. You get dropped in New York City with a laptop and a cell phone, and it's kind of like, go ahead, see what you can do. And I really like that aspect of it. I really like the no ceiling on the commissions and how much you can earn. And I didn't really like trading my time for money. I'd done that previously and worked jobs as internships. And I really wanted something where I was motivated to perform. And it was based on my performance more so than just my time. So,
So you had to eat what you killed. So that's it. Basically, let me ask you this: how do you feel like your athletic background helped you in real estate?
yeah, I think tremendously.
Okay.
Just as far as the competitiveness, the teamwork, and just setbacks, failures, like in football especially, you lose a lot, you get knocked down a lot. It's all about kind of how you come back. And I think just
Good
overall,
metaphor.
yeah, just overall, like the teamwork and just the overall competitive nature of sports, I think really pushed me to be and have like the priorities that I have today has been.
Discipline, competitive, and this is definitely a team sport. So yeah, I that's what I was hoping you'd say because I assumed that was the case.
Yep.
So bring us into, I know we're going to talk about your first deal here in a minute, which was what, 7, 8 months into this thing, which is fantastic. But before we get to that, in that first 7 to 8 months, so you can give the listeners just a little bit of an idea of what this journey looks like. What was kind of your day to day, the things that you were doing, whether it was mostly education, whether it was networking, whether it was learning different pieces of the business, what were all those things that you did to get up to the point of, looking and closing on your first deal?
Yeah. So my mindset was totally shifted just solely due to my coach, who is Max Shaw. And
Oh, great.
I came in thinking like, okay, I was telling Max, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna send out mailers. I'm gonna call the owners. I'm gonna pick this market. And he's like, no, 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 stop. He's like, don't do any of that. First 6 months, all I want you to do is just focusing on the networking piece. And so that was a big shift for me because I wouldn't have expected to take that route, but I was scheduling, 4 to 5 warrior calls every day after work, 6 to 8:30, every single day, just nonstop. So just always talking about real estate, the kind of deals I was looking for, and having those conversations just over and over again, just kind of in my head, I had to force myself to think about what I was focusing on and what size deals and which markets. So that's the route that I took. I just went to every single event, Orlando, Sarasota, met everyone in person, ended up meeting one of my co-GPs at the Orlando event, and met another one of the co-GPs on this deal on one of the Warrior calls, just the Zoom calls after work. And yeah, I mean, that was a game changer for me.
Yeah, one of the things I tell every warrior when they first sign up, and I know I told you this, is that the most important thing you can do is get connected in that community. And and I'm really glad you brought that up because that doesn't come up that often, but it really is even more important than learning the business, which sounds crazy, but it is. It's in this business, it's who you know. And as you're having these conversations, you start to get a feel for what you're going to go after, start to get some, get some real reality around, where you want to go, the size deal, and start to get a feel for how you can add value as well. Now, Max saw right away that, you're a great communicator and you can raise equity. Hello. And you've dialed for dollars before. I mean, if you were a commercial real estate broker, that's part of the game there. Now, I don't know how much you had to do in the leasing side of things, but I know if you're in the sales side, you're literally on the phone cold calling like crazy, which, you get good at rejection and dealing with rejection and pushing through in spite of rejection. So,
Now I'm curious, did you think that was what was going to happen? Did you come into the group thinking, okay, I'm good at maybe sales, I could do capital raising, or did the opportunity present itself in a deal and then you kind of had to pivot a little bit there and get into that?
Yeah, totally not was what I was expecting at all. I'm like a commercial broker by nature, so cold calling, cold emailing, sending out mailers. I was more thinking the route of like I'll source a deal, I'll find a deal, I'll tee something up, I'll get an LOI accepted or close to accepted, and then I'll loop in some of the contacts that I've made. But I have not even focused on finding a deal at all.
By the way, guys, an LOI is a letter of intent, and let me just, for those of you who don't know what it is, bear with me if you do. I'll be brief, but whenever you do a real estate deal in commercial real estate, you're always going to have an attorney review the contract or write the contract or both. Never write one yourself, and I've written thousands of them, and I would never do a large commercial contract yourself. But attorneys aren't free; they cost money. So prior to that, you need to you use what's called a letter of intent, which lays out the major deal points on a deal, the purchase price, closing, earnest money, financing, things of that nature, and anything major. And you agree on that with the seller, sometimes via the broker, and then you spend the money and let the attorneys work out the purchase and sale agreement. So that's an LOI.
Well, I just wanted to add one little piece because your journey actually, Jimmy, was similar to mine, focusing on finding deals, but then shifting over to networking. Because I found, and I don't know if you found this as well, is that you can go talking to brokers and all these things, but if you're new into the business, inevitably there's going to be someone else who has a better relationship, a better track record, is going to beat you out on these other things. And me shifting from working with other people in the group that already had that track record and building that relationship got me into so many more deals than me trying to find deals on my own. And I don't know if you agree with that, but I found the exact same thing.
Yeah. Yep. 100% agree. And using the track record of the more experienced GPs is probably one of the most pieces. Yeah.
In the Warrior Group. Yeah. Fantastic. So what's one action item that maybe you could deep dive a little, and we're going to do the deal next, but before we do that, what's one action item maybe you could do a deep dive on that you think will benefit our listeners just based on what you've experienced so far?
Yeah. So one thing that I've done, obviously, in addition to the networking piece, has been starting my own newsletter and just, started with like 50 to 100 contacts that I had kind of in my inner circle, emails, up to like, a few hundred people now, but just demonstrating knowledge, experience, and really what I was focusing on was real time, real life, the deal that we were working on. So I was just updating on some of the progress and, whether it was underwriting or some of the CapEx stuff that we were doing, renovating the pool, doing the landscaping. I did one newsletter that was about our rent bumps that we were getting and the kind of valuation that, we were hoping to see. And I think just starting the newsletter, and I was pretty surprised how many of my contacts like reached out to me like pretty quickly and were like, hey, like long time no speak, like hope everything is going well. I see that you started, your own company, or you guys just bought this property, and pretty cool. Like would love to learn more about what you guys are doing. And I mean, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So what you did is something that a lot of the Warriors do with that newsletter is they find a way to create reach. And, some people do it through building a Facebook group or a LinkedIn profile or YouTube channel, or we've got dozens of podcasters in the Warrior Group. And by the way, I want to brag for a minute. We just found out that our Warriors now own over 260,000 units that we've documented. We know it's more than that, but I was just blown away. We found that out just a few days ago, which I'm very, very proud of. But here's the thing that I teach the Warriors about creating reach, and that is two things. One, you have to be consistent, okay? Don't be a once and done thing. And two, you have to add value. Okay. And it's so easy to do now with ChatGPT, and, there's so many things you can do. You can host something and interview people, and then you're perceived as an expert because you're the one asking the questions, and like a podcast or a YouTube channel or whatever, doing interviews, meetup groups. We've got dozens of meetup groups as well. And so I just want to let people know that, you decided to do a newsletter, which is candidly a little more rare than the other strategies that I've seen. Although I did just see one from John on industrial flex space. A Warrior just did one on industrial flex space. I don't know if you saw that, but anyway, typically a lot of people are doing more video and stuff like that now. But anyway, I just wanted to interject that.
And by the way, you don't have to be in the real estate world like Jimmy is, because I know people are thinking that. We've had people on here that have done a podcast for nurses, helping people in the healthcare industry get into real estate, people in the tech world. So you can come from any industry and
athletes,
still do the same strategy. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Whatever you come from. Now bring us into this first deal here, Jimmy. Where is it? How many units? How'd you find it? How did it all come together? Let's just give us the lowdown on this first one here.
Yeah, so it's 44 units in St. Petersburg, Florida.
What? It's
Yeah.
right up the freaking street, man. You didn't even call me to get in on it. Oh man, I'm not feeling the love right now. Okay,
Too small
keep
for
going.
So right on like the southern tip of St. Pete in like the Marina District, Maximo area,
Nice,
across the street from the Maximo Elementary School, Starbucks, Publix, CVS, all right there. Um,
nice. Let me
boom.
interject. Let me interject something. We like to see big national retailers around our properties. We don't want to see, I like to say, Bob's Burgers and Sushi. We want to see the Starbucks and the Whole Foods and the all that stuff. So anyway, awesome. Keep going.
Yep, and so it was sourced through another warrior,
Hmm.
who's local to the market. He lives about 20 minutes away from the property. And he had a relationship with one of the brokers there, and he got the deal locked up with an LOI, and he roped in another co-GP, which was also a warrior. So on this deal, it's like six of us, all warriors. We all raised the capital together, and we all took down the deal together.
And you're all involved in other things than just raising the capital as well, which is very important. I mean, you were involved in the due diligence. You did other things as this thing, and that's very, very important. You cannot just be a capital raiser. You have to be actively involved. So I'm sure you're all on the asset management calls. You work in the capex, getting bids, doing all sorts of things like that. So talk about the rents. What were the going in rents, and what do you project? And from what I read here, they're all townhouses, right? 1984 build, which is fantastic. I love townhouses because nobody's living above you or below you. I'm really getting FOMO right now on this deal. But anyway. So talk about the rents and what you're anticipating, because rents here have gone nuts.
Yeah, yeah. So they average rents were about 1850 a month throughout the complex going in. Also they were all townhouses, but they have each unit has its own private garage,
Oh, nice.
which was like a big bonus. You get like a
Oh
nice
yeah.
monthly bonus for
I,
that.
I want that's what I want to build. That is exactly what I want to build. I'm telling my son, get off your ass, get your general contractor's license. He's moving here. I just found out. And so I said, get your GC license, and that's exactly what I want to build. Those townhouses, the little garages. They're always in demand. Anyway, I digress. So what do you think the rents are going to be? Did you say that already?
Yeah, so they were about 1850 when we bought it. We're gonna get them up to about 2100 or so. Um, so it's gonna
Nice.
be a nice rent bump on that.
What are you doing to get that rent up, buddy? Are you doing any upgrades? Just talk about that briefly.
Yeah, so when we bought the property, out of 44 units, the previous owner had renovated about 19 of them.
Hmm.
So we had 25 units that were in classic condition that we are planning now. We're upgrading all of them. So we're going to be renovating them with modern stainless steel appliances, vinyl plank flooring, just new paint, and just kind of giving it a whole new refresh. That's the
Nice.
interior. We just finished resurfacing the pool area with a whole new nice blue liner, all new pool furniture, just cleaned up all the landscaping, new signage just went in. We're replacing one of the roofs. It's more of a CapEx item, but making a lot of improvements to the whole complex.
Nice.
I,
Uh, Go ahead.
I have to ask about Florida. I'm a Florida investor myself as well. And I'm sure you know, Florida, some pockets of it has been very tough with insurance and inventory and everything like that. Now, I know you're only 2 months into this deal, but even 2 months in, you probably have a decent pulse on your property and everything that's going on. How are you feeling about Florida in general, St. Petersburg, this deal in terms of the vacancy, the rents, how has and just I guess your long-term outlook on Florida as well as the short term.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Florida. My favorite markets are definitely Tampa and Orlando. I think that just the population growth, the overall job growth, I think is tremendous. A lot of the migration south, whether it's the baby boomers flocking south as they get older and the retirees. But Florida's on fire. I think a lot of the markets there were somewhat overbuilt over the last few years, and it's been very competitive. And a lot of the deals that I've been seeing have not made a ton of sense. So it's a little bit harder. It's a little bit more competitive to find a deal. But I think if you find a deal that pencils and it's cash flowing from day one, I think there's nothing but upside.
No, no brainer, no brainer. I say exactly the same thing. If you can make a deal make work with it, with today's insurance, you're gonna do just fantastic in Florida. Now, I want to circle back to something you talked about where you said classic units. So, guys, when you buy a complex, very often the owner will renovate some of the units to prove price increasing, and I'm assuming that's what happened here. And so that they can show, hey, yeah, this is what you can get if you do these upgrades. And so that you said he'd done 19 of them. And the units that haven't been upgraded are called classic, just so you know. Okay, I just wanted to elaborate on that. So as you guys can hear, the Warrior Network is just extraordinary. And if you're maybe considering getting some guidance, so that you can experience the life you want this year rather than later, text the word crush to 72345. That's how you apply to the Warrior program. Again, text the word crush to 72345, and to see if we can help you, move forward with the life that you want, and as we have for hundreds of people. So, that's how you apply. Text crush to 72345.
Now, Jimmy, on this deal, obviously raising capital was one of the things that you did. Obviously, right now the stock market is up and down, crypto's going crazy. Have you noticed certain trends with your investors on this deal of, maybe why they're getting into multifamily, why they came to you, or certain things that you've noticed so people can hear maybe what are the right people to talk to?
Yeah, I think one of the trends that I was noticing and going through the process of raising capital for the first time and offering this opportunity, a lot of the investors that I was speaking to, they were very focused on the immediate short-term returns. So they were very focused on, if I invest X amount of money, what's my return looking like year one, and year two, and like what is the next year's return look like? And the other thing I noticed was, at first, I think that I was not portraying the process of a value add multifamily deal in the simplest, just clearest way. So I kind of found the way that was helpful for me was to kind of lay out the projected returns. And here's, the cash flow examples of a example of return and, the exit after 5 years, and then kind of backing into how the business plan supports those returns.
Fantastic.
Now, people focusing on the first year, was that more of a challenge that you're bringing up, of people wanting to not thinking long term, or what did you mean when you said that?
Yeah, I think just like understanding, like we have a business plan to go in and take a property over time. We're going to increase the rents and therefore increase the value. And that's kind of like the down the road upside, if you will. But people that I were speaking to, like they were very focused on, like what's my preferred return? What's the year one cash on cash?
Yeah, what a lot of them don't realize is that when you're doing the value add process, you're going to have vacancies. Okay, you're going to have empty units. So the cash on cash return the first couple of years very often is lower than the remaining years, and it balances out to get them the preferred return that whatever you've promised. And by the way, the preferred return, guys, just so you understand, is when you bring in investors, you'll very often give them what's called a preferred return. It can be anywhere from 5 to 8%, and that comes off the top. So they get that first before you get anything. Okay, and then after that, it's called the promote, and that's the split. The split can be anywhere from 50-50 to 80-20. And what's the split on your deal, buddy? What's the promote?
We did a 6% preferred return with a 70-30 split.
Yep, that's very common. That's a sweet deal for the investors, a good deal for you. And you got an acquisition fee, I'm sure, yes?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what you do. And so that's how it works, guys, is they get that preferred return. Everything above that is split in whatever you've agreed to or whatever makes sense for the deal. And the last deal we did was very similar, 70-30.
Well, also net worth as well, Rod, is that, what they may not even think about or realize is that after 12 months or 24 months, let's call it, is because the NOI goes up, everybody's net worth skyrockets, but they don't see that, right? In a typical stock, they may see, okay, the value goes up so they can look at the number. You can't see the number of net worth on a multifamily property until you appraise it. But that's one thing also that investors don't realize, is that even though the cash flow may be up, down, left, right, whatever, is that their net worth is going up on paper because the value of the property has increased instantly because of that NOI. So also something to think about as well.
Because the increase in the NOI, yes,
correct.
Any increase in the NOI is an exponential increase in the value, and so. I was, and that's the whole name of the game is in this business, you're able to force appreciation through your efforts, through the work that you do. And that's what you did on this 44 unit. So what's a hot topic in multifamily that you're seeing people talk about other than the tariffs and that, I just saw Trump trash Greenspan today over not lowering the interest rates. That was literally today. But, what's a hot topic that you can chat about, Jimmy?
Yeah, something that we kind of touched on earlier, especially in these markets in Florida, but a lot of the Sun Belt markets in Texas. There's a topic, that all of these best markets are overbuilt. And I think in some cases it looks like it's probably accurate on like the Austins and maybe like the Nashvilles and like some of these super high vacancy markets. I would agree. And I think maybe it'll take another year or two to kind of balance out. But overall, I think that these markets aren't slowing down anytime soon. The population growth is there. The job growth is there. They're expanding rapidly. And I think, kind of like what we were discussing earlier, Rod, is if you can get a deal in one of these hot markets that is cash flowing on day one and it looks like pretty good returns, there's only, phenomenal upside after that.
It's only going to go up. Yeah, I agree completely. And, I actually have an asset in Nashville that's struggling a little bit, right? Because of all the overbuilding that was done there. But I'm bullish on Nashville because I know it's going to kick ass in the, the next couple of years. Same with San Antonio, which is right down the street from Austin. We've got assets there. And one of those is struggling a little bit. But I'm bullish on San Antonio. I love that market, and I know it's gonna really do well moving forward. But there's been a lot of overbuilding. There's also, a lot of deals are struggling right now because of the adjustable rate debt, and we've got a lot of debt coming due and a lot of opportunity coming. So if there was ever a time to get in this business, those of you listening, now is the freaking time because the deals are coming. So if you're not coming to my boot camp, get your butt to my boot camp. And if you want to, move quicker, then text CRUSH to 72345 and talk to us about the Warrior program, because it is the best time I think I'm going to see in my lifetime to get into commercial multifamily. So.
And we know this, by the way, it's not a guess because you can pull the information anywhere on building permits. You can see that after 2023, they fell off of a cliff, and those typically take 2 years to come online. And so 2026, we already know inventory is going to have a steep decline pretty much across the United States. And I think rent's going to shoot through the roof everywhere, including all those markets.
So that's the thing. Inflation increases everything, including rents. Now, you buy a property now, your debt stays the same, but inflation is going to bring your rents up. It's a fact of life. And, and so much currency was created in this last administration. 80% of the current currency in circulation was created in the last 4 years. That's why we have inflation. It's not going away anytime soon. And if Trump is successful in lowering the interest rates, that's going to continue. But rents will go up. So, there you go.
So, Jimmy, where people that like your story want to reach out, chat, hear about, just anything, where can they reach you?
Yeah, easiest way is probably LinkedIn or Instagram. Also, my email is jd@dioriocap.com, and they can all reach out, that way.
Perfect.
By the way, real quick, on your social media, is it Anthony Diorio or is it Jimmy, so they can find you?
It's gonna be all Jimmy probably, but it's Anthony and it's Jimmy on some.
Okay.
Super. Well, thanks, brother. It was good to see you. I'm sure we'll see you here shortly at the Warrior event in May. The Warrior Only event that's coming up. And I appreciate you coming on and adding some value, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. See you in Sarasota, and thank you for having me.